when you hit Alcatraz is keep your mouth shut, walk with your back to the wall.
Thank you for joining us on our tour of the Alcatraz cell house. You should now be standing under the sign that says tour begins here.
So we're about to take the city cruises to Alcatraz. So we are here at the Pier 33, Alcatraz landing, and I will go ahead and board the ship. It's 9:52, the ship leaves at 10 o'clock. So I hope I can make it. So let me show you around. So this is Alcatraz City Cruises. It's here from Embarcadero Street. You guys can take the cruise from here, and you can buy tickets the same day if there are tickets available, but normally you have to book a few days in advance. You don't have to book weeks in advance, just few days. And you are ready to go. So I'm excited. I waited for this for a while. I've been to Alcatraz like 10 years ago, but this is gonna be my second time. So let's go see if we can get on the ship. Hello, sir.
What time?
10 o'clock.
10 past 10? Yeah, just at the blue flag.
Oh yeah, thank you. Oh, it's 10 past 10, so we have 10 more minutes. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Very good, sir.
Thank you.
All plants, animals, and historic structures on Alcatraz Island are protected by law. Do not collect or take anything off the island. Feeding and disturbing the birds, animals, and sea life on and around Alcatraz Island is strictly prohibited.
Can we sit on the top now? Huh? Good. Oh yeah. Let's see. There is a bar here. Coffee, drinks.
Island in the world. We invite you to explore its multi-layered history. You'll walk in the footsteps of America's most dangerous criminals and the men who guarded them. Hear their voices and experience their daily lives when you tour the federal penitentiary.
So the weather is beautiful today. We are approaching Alcatraz, guys.
How are you guys doing today? That's good. Are you guys excited to be here? Awesome. Where's some of you guys visiting from? Anyone want to share?
Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. All right, anyone else? Poland.
Liverpool.
Where?
Liverpool.
Liverpool, nice.
So this is the main cell house, and this is where you guys get the audio tour. So let's go check it out.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Right this way for audio. Pick up all the way around, please.
English for you?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. You go up the stairs, you go to the side, and then play. This is the volume.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When you hit Alcatraz is keep your mouth shut, walk with your back to the wall.
Thank you for joining us on our tour of the Alcatraz cell house. You should now be standing under the sign that says tour begins here. On your right, Look for a photo panel entitled Tour Narrators. Walk over to it.
Walk, do not run when moving from one place to another.
I'm Pat Mahoney, former Alcatraz correctional officer, and I'll be your guide. I served 7 years on the Rock. These first photos introduce some of my fellow officers.
I am Philip Bergen, Captain of the Guards, United States Penitentiary, Alcatraz, California.
Well, my name is George DeVincenzi. I used to play checkers with Robert Stroud. I don't think I ever beat him.
My name is Ronald Battles. I asked whether they hired blacks out there. You know how it was in the 50s.
Continue to the left to the next photo panel. These are some of the prisoners whose voices you'll hear.
Yeah, my name is Leon Whitey Thompson. My number was 1465. I was a man that had total hatred in them days. I hated anything that walked or crawled on this earth. I was a man who was dead inside. You couldn't hurt me no more, see?
I'm John Banner. My Alcatraz number was 1133. I'm a thief, you know. I ended up about number 17 or something like that on the most wanted.
You were a number, you weren't a name. You want to be a human. I wasn't Jim Quill, and hell, I was number 586. Everybody wants to be an individual. They want to be a human. And you weren't at the Rock.
My name is Darwin Kuhn, number 1422. Figured I'm never going to get out. Yeah, I'm going to sit right here until I die.
Now, continue to your left. Up ahead, you'll see an open gate on your right. This was called the cutoff. Walk through the cutoff. The Alcatraz cell house opened as a federal prison in 1934. Within these walls lived the country's toughest, most dangerous, and most famous prisoners. As soon as you exit the cutoff, immediately turn right onto the next corridor. It's called Broadway. Walk slowly along the line of cells on the right side. Each cell has a number above the cell door. On your right, find cell number 113. Stop and look inside. Broadway was the first stop for arriving prisoners.
We went right down Broadway, in our birthday suits. And all the guys, are howling.
Well, here's a typical Alcatraz cell. Every one of them in the cell house exactly like.
I had a metal tabletop and a little chair there, and that was about it. The cell was pretty barren.
5 feet wide, 9 feet long, and 7 feet high. And that's what I call a little box.
No decorations allowed, anything. Couldn't paste anything on the wall.
Continue to the next cell. Waiting on the bed for each new prisoner was a copy of the official rules and regulations.
This is the rules of the cell house. Your cell is subject to search at any time.
Your towel had to be folded up and put on your shelf. Your toothbrush, and they used to give us tooth powder in little green containers.
Now, continue ahead to the next cell.
I guess like a cockroach feels in a matchbox.
You may smoke in your cell in the library.
We were issued a pack of wings on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. Every inmate, whether he smoked or not.
Continue to the next cell.
Sweep your cell and place the trash in the trash bin.
I knew every mark, everything in that cell. And pretty soon that cell became like a part of me, or I became a part of the cell.
Look ahead to the far end of Broadway. You should see a clock on the wall. Walk towards it.
Alcatraz was always classed as the end of the line, the point of no return. It was like going into the ground. When you're buried, you're gone forever.
Beneath it is the area prisoners call Times Square. When you get to Times Square, turn left. Look over towards the right and find the large photo of the prison recreation yard. Walk over to it.
This is the rules of the cell house. Your cell is subject to search at any time.
Prisoners had a decision to make, whether to obey the rules or not, to do good time or bad time. That decision affected their lives dramatically.
An inmate is given housing, good food, medical attention, and all the necessities of life.
Everything else was a privilege. Time to exercise outside, getting books and mail, all had to be earned. One of their favorite privileges was the recreation yard.
The most pleasant place, I believe, on Alcatraz, and the most appreciated. The handball court, the horseshoe court.
Prisoners also played bridge out in the yard. They used dominoes instead of cards.
They came out with a system called Auto Bridge. You played it all by yourself. Guys got so wound up in this bridge thing that they ate and slept it. They'd go out there when it would be so cold that you didn't think you could stay out there, yet they'd stay out there for 3 hours and play bridge. And if you're occupied with bridge and you're studying bridge, you're not thinking about going over the wall.
Prisoners who chose not to behave ended up in a harsher place, isolation. You should be facing the photo panel. Look to your left. Directly ahead is an open steel door marked D block. Go through this door. D block was the prison within Alcatraz, the treatment unit.
This place is going to operate on the basis that you do what you're told, and you're going to get a fair break. If you don't behave yourself, we're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Move a few steps into the room and find a place to stand. Look up at the 3 tiers of cells. Unruly or violent prisoners were sent here. They stayed in their cells 24 hours a day. Typically, they were only allowed out once a week for a shower and exercise.
Now, in this cell block, we have 42 of the least popular cells in Alcatraz.
The wind used to just blow through there. You could hear it. At night, you could hear it whistling through the windows.
One of the more infamous prisoners to live here in D Block was convicted killer Robert Stroud, the so-called Birdman.
And almost immediately upon his arrival at Alcatraz, he was relegated to the treatment unit. And he didn't bring his birds along with him, which made him very unhappy, but he brought all his bad habits with him, which made us unhappy. And there he remained for several years, being obnoxious and noisy and agitating and busily writing, fluent in 3 languages, a mathematical expert, brilliant man.
He's a psychopath.
Suicidal, homicidal maniac.
Now, turn to face the windows. Walk over to the photo panel on the wall. You'll see a photo of Robert Stroud. Alongside Stroud, you'll see some other well-known prisoners. Alcatraz was built for men like these.
Alvin Karpis, you gotta watch out for him. Former public enemy #1.
Creepy Karpis. When you seen Creepy, you wouldn't have to be told he was creepy because he walked on his toes.
He had Kelly.
Nice fella, never give you any troubles at all. Very accommodating, polite.
Nicky Cohen, Frankie Garbo.
And Capone.
Ain't a fool with Capone, see? He was a street fighter. He's a big man. He was in good shape. The only thing, his brain was gone. He had syphilis. Well, eventually it drove him crazy.
Now, turn back to the cells. Walk over to the cells on the far right with solid green doors. This was solitary confinement, the whole, cells 9 through 14.
When the cell was occupied, the regulations required that the light be on.
Well, we kept the lights off when they were in there. They were in the dark.
You may enter one of the cells if you wish.
go in the hole, what I used to do is I'd tear a button off my coveralls. I'd flip it up in the air. Then I'd turn around in circles. Then I'd get down on my hands and knees and I'd hunt for that button. Then when I found the button, I'd stand up and I'd do it again.
But if you would close your eyes like right now, close your eyes and seal your eyes up with your hand, with a little concentration, you can see a light. And pretty soon that light will get brighter. And you got to concentrate on this. And after a while, not a short while, this takes time and practice, but pretty soon you can almost put your own TV there. And you can see things. And you can go on trips. And this is what I did.
Now, open your eyes. Step out of the hole. This was the prison library.
You put your request on a library card. If the book was available, they'd bring it and put it in the bars for you.
Prisoners with reading privileges could subscribe to approved magazines.
And if it had some story by some convict out of Nebraska or something, that was cut out. Never mind that you might have been reading a serial and it was on the back of one of them pages.
Prisoners who behaved could also take correspondence courses.
Took a course from the University of Pennsylvania on animal husbandry. The gestation period for a pig is 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days.
Now let's continue. Walk out of the library, turn right, walk along the cells on your left.
Escape attempts got the attention, but in Alcatraz's 30 years history, most days were uneventful and repetitive. Stop at the first furnished cell. Most accepted that this cell block, however grim, was home for now. Some considered this sunny area the most desirable part of the prison to live.
It was like coming back and greeting an old friend, really.
Take a look into the cells.
I used to do a lot of oil paintings on Alcatraz. If I was painting a scene of the Swiss Alps or something like that, hey, I'm right up there skiing as I'm painting, and I used to escape that way.
My grandmother taught me how to crochet when I was a kid. So I taught a lot of guys how to crochet. Big, tough guys sitting in there with a needle and crocheting.
Move on to the next cell. In the 1950s, radios were installed at Alcatraz. You might have noticed what looks like a light switch box with 2 holes. Prisoners plugged their earphones in there to listen to the radio.
We had 2 stations we could plug into. They let us listen to such programs as Boston Blackie,
Pelican, How to Gunboat Travel,
baseball games, and basketball games.
Move on to the next cell.
At nighttime, between 6:30 and 7:30, they have what they call a music hour. They play harmonicas or guitar or whatnot. They had one guy over there, and he used to play one of these slide trombones. And I think he only knew 3 notes, da da da, da da da. For an hour, that's all I hear, ta ta ta, ta ta ta.
New Year's Eve, everybody had a saxophone or a clarinet or a guitar or whatever started playing. Then they'd take their tin cups and they'd rack them back and forth across the front of the bars.
Turn around and look up at the windows. They face San Francisco and the setting sun.
The yacht club, which was directly across from the island, would always have a big New Year's party. If the wind was blowing from that direction to the rock, you could actually hear people laughing, you could hear music, you could hear girls laughing, you could hear all the sounds that were coming from the free world at the rock. But New Year's was always the night we heard it.
Continue to the end of Seedy Street. When you get there, turn left. Look for 4 small windows in the wall on the right. They're marked visitation. The prisoners called this Pekin Place.
When they'd written me that letter and said, you know, you're dead, don't ever come back, we've told your sister you're dead, the whole bit. You know, I'd been there at the Rock 7.5 years. The guard came up and racked my door open and said, Quillen? And I said, yeah. Or said 586, and I said, yeah. You got a visitor? And I told him, I said, you're full of crap. He said, you got a damn visitor. Go down to the visiting office.
Approach the visitors' windows.
I thought, hell, I'll see some good-looking chick at least, if nothing else, you know. And I walked up there, and here's this good-looking girl.
I was nervous, didn't know what to expect.
I knew who she was when I got a real good look at her, and when she said Jimmy, which was what she always called me, hell, I knew it was my sis.
Once I saw Jimmy, it was, you know, he didn't look different, and he was overwhelmed, and he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it, that we were there and that I had grown up and that I'd come to see him.
Let's continue. When you've finished at visitation, turn left. Walk past Broadway. We're heading for what the inmates called Michigan Avenue. When you get there, turn left. Look for the large photo panel on the cells. You're about to hear the story of the 1962 escape.
Earlier, on the morning of June the 12th, 1962, Officer Bill Long had been in charge of the first count of the day.
And at the sound of the bell, the inmates are supposed to be dressed and up, standing in front of their doors for count. Bill, there's a guy up here, I can't get up. Well, it's the sergeant says, I'll get him up.
Look across the aisle for cell number 138.
I'll wake him up.
Walk over to it and look inside.
Hey.
And he was laying in there, so I reached in through the bars and I hit the pillow. And Lord knows what happened. The head fell off on the floor. The guy said that I shot back about 6 feet. There's his face, there's his head, hair on his head and everything. One of the other officers there said, here's another one, Bill, right here. There's one up here, Bill. And I said, don't touch him, don't touch it. A horror movie. And I was right in the middle of it.
You should be facing the cells. Continue to your left to cells number 150 and 152. Prisoners Frank Lee Morris and 2 brothers, John and Clarence Anglin, had escaped the night before. They made dummy heads to fool the officers. Morris was the brains. The Anglin brothers, they were just swamp rats out of Florida. According to the reports, the men enlarged the vent openings in the back of their cells with stolen spoons.
I'll give you a ton of spoons, and I want to see how long it'll take you to go through one of them walls there. Them walls may be old, but let me tell you, you're not going through them cells with them spoons.
They didn't make those holes with spoon handles. They had the necessary tools. Hammers and chisels and drills.
No one thought it was possible to get through concrete using spoons, but in fact they were heavy gauge steel. And you break off the bowl, and now you've got a drill. And in fact, 13 spoon handles and a ladle handle were actually found hidden in 2 cans of cement paint after the escape was over.
Now continue to your left to the end of the cell block. Turn right. Slowly continue to Broadway.
Lights went out around 9:30 at night, and that was it.
It was dead quiet. Quiet like a mausoleum.
It was kind of scary walking around those dark tiers, and some would sleep with their eyes open, some grind their teeth, some talk in their sleep.
You lay awake a long time.
I could sit out there in True Tower at nighttime and see the full moon come up.
Continue slowly down Broadway past the cutoff toward Times Square.
In the housing of inmates at Alcatraz, was deemed necessary to keep the blacks separate from the whites.
At that time, Alcatraz mirrored American society. This part of Broadway was a segregated section for black prisoners. Stop when you get to the end of the cell block.
Mexicans, Indians, whites, they could all cell next to each other. The only ones that couldn't was blacks.
They tried it when they opened up, and they had such a high population of hostile rednecks and such a low population comparably of blacks that they soon found out they couldn't do it.
They finally integrated all the other penitentiaries, but not Alcatraz. Of the 100 or so officers, only a handful were black.
It was very difficult for the black officers. They got rid of anybody with an education because their feeling was someday that guy is going to be my boss.
You should now be at the end of the corridor. This is the area known as Times Square. Directly ahead of you is the dining hall. Step through the doorway and move toward the bars at the back of the dining hall. 3 times a day, all the men in general population gathered here for 20-minute meals. Imagine 200 plus men, each armed with a knife, fork, and spoon. This was potentially the most dangerous room in the cell house.
And if you notice up on the ceiling there, you see these canisters up there dotted around. That's tear gas. And we nicknamed the dining room the gas chamber. It so happened during the history of Alcatraz, they never did trip the button. If they did trip it, they would have made a fatal mistake because them 2 guards in there and the lieutenant would never have gotten out of there alive.
Now walk to the barred area at the far end of the dining room. Behind it is the kitchen area. Notice the knife rack on the left. The shape of each knife was outlined on the rack. This way, officers could tell immediately if one was missing. Even so, some knives disappeared.
I think about 3-4 men got killed with kitchenware.
And I heard that old familiar pop slap, you know, and Chili had drove it into Sosa's back. It was just like an ice pick. He stuck it right in the back, and that was the pop slap I heard.
Feel free to sit on one of the benches.
Alcatraz, I don't think you ever heard anybody say anything disparaging about the meals.
It was a strict requirement of the Bureau of Prisons that the food not only be palatable and healthy, but attractively served.
When they first started making spaghetti and putting it on the line, it was pretty good. And it kept going down, down, down.
Noodles and plum juice.
So somebody said, damn it, the next time they put that spaghetti out on the line, they're going to turn the tables over.
You know, all the tables are coming like domino. Pa, 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 pa.
The lives of those officers in that dining room were in jeopardy. And so old Bergen just took it in hand and took that Thompson and knocked out 3 panes of glass. Buck, waited, buck, waited, buck, knocked out the 3rd. Got everybody's attention. I jammed that actuating lever back and she went click and they all heard it and they knew what it meant. And I said, Lieutenant, blow your whistle, just quietly. He blew his whistle. Inmates started to get up and they marched out of the dining room just like little lambs.
At the end of 3 decades, over 1,500 men had served time on the rock. By then, Alcatraz had served its own time. After years of harsh wind and weather, the buildings were badly deteriorated. The isolated island was too expensive to run. And now in the 1960s, prison reformers preached rehabilitation instead of punishment. Early in 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy ordered Alcatraz closed.
The last day we were there, we ate breakfast in the dining room. showered and put on clean uniforms and shackles and handcuffs down to the boat.
I saw the last inmate leave. The last inmate leave.
I went from hell to heaven. And when I stop and think what I was doing over there, locked up in those gun galleries and towers and wrestling inmates, and yes, heaven and hell.
And I remember when they released me, I've been locked up 15 years, and during all this time, I never had no visits, no letters, no nothing. And I'm watching the cars whizzing by and the people walking. Everything was moving too fast, and I didn't know how to move with it. And then I remember how envious I was of these people because they all had a destination. They were all going someplace, and I didn't know where I was going. And I was scared to death.
So when you guys come back from the Alcatraz, when you return the headphones, when you walk all the way on the bottom, there is a morgue, like a crematorium for the prisoners. So he said it's somewhere down here by the water tower. Oh, it's right here. Let's take a peek. Whoa, this was the crematorium for the prisoners, guys. I had no idea the Alcatraz has a crematorium. Let me try to zoom in. There is some oven there or something at the end. I don't know if you guys can see it. The windows are so dirty from the other side. Can you see that? There is some pipe machine at the end. Maybe not. So 36 men tried to attempt to escape from Alcatraz between 1934 and 1963. 23 inmates were recaptured, 7 inmates were shot and killed, and I think at least 3 inmates drowned. This is the lighthouse over here, and also they have restrooms, and also they say that 5 inmates drowned, and of course 3 guys escaped. So that was the famous escape, and they never found them. So the FBI still searching for them until today, but they never found those 3 guys. And also, you know, people ask me if people live on Alcatraz. Nobody live on Alcatraz. All the workers, everybody go home after. They are having construction here, building something. Also, the volunteers maintain the garden, and Alcatraz is open for visitors also every day, except Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So this is a view of San Francisco. Wow, you guys have to see this. This is not prohibited to come, but tourists don't really come here. It's in the Alcatraz on the other side. Didn't say no enter, so I don't want you guys comment on my video that I enter somewhere I'm not supposed to. This used to be tourist attraction, but I guess it's closed now for tourists because it's a little dangerous. Look at that. Look, all these birds. Wow. What this was, this old house? Was that like a tower? What was this? So let's just try to go around a little. But really there is not much here. So this is Alcatraz. Looks like a lake on the middle of Alcatraz. Look at all the birds. I don't want to fly my drone here because they will hit it for sure. Look at all of this. Look, all of this poop. So we can't go there because it's historic. Preservation in progress. But here is okay to walk, even it was closed. So we have to say goodbye from the beautiful island of Alcatraz. Thank you so much guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you soon in the next episode. Ciao.